Han Solo wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the power readings on the main console. The engine room of the Eternal Flame was always hot, even with the advanced cooling systems the Draxians used. He had been working on this massive warship for 6 months now, and he still could not believe he was here. A human engineer, working for an alien empire that controlled half the known galaxy. The Draxians were not like humans. They stood over 8 feet tall with scales that shimmered like metal in the light. Their faces looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, with sharp teeth and eyes that glowed with inner fire. When Han Solo first saw one, he nearly fainted. Now, he worked alongside them every day, though he still felt small and fragile in their presence. His communicator beeped. Han Solo pulled it from his belt and looked at the screen. His heart jumped into his throat when he saw the message. It was from the Imperial Guard. They wanted him to report to the throne room immediately. "Oh no," Han Solo whispered. "What did I do wrong?" He quickly saved his work and logged out of the console. His hands shook as he smoothed down his uniform. The throne room. He had never been summoned there before. In 6 months, he had successfully avoided meeting anyone from the royal family. He liked it that way. Less attention meant less chance of making a mistake that could get him thrown off the ship or worse. The walk to the throne room felt like a journey to his execution. Other crew members moved aside as he passed, their eyes following him with curiosity. News traveled fast on the ship, even one as large as the Eternal Flame. By now, everyone probably knew that the human engineer had been summoned. 2 Imperial guards stood at the massive doors to the throne room. They were even bigger than regular Draxians, wearing armor that looked like it was made from black crystal. Their faces showed no emotion as they watched Han Solo approach. "Engineer Han Solo, reporting as ordered," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Without a word, the guards pushed open the doors. The throne room stretched before him like a cathedral. The ceiling was so high that Han Solo could not see the top. Pillars of what looked like captured starlight lined both sides of a long purple carpet. At the far end, on a throne made of gold and silver, sat Emperor Kangde himself. Han Solo's legs felt weak. The Emperor was the largest Draxian he had ever seen, and his scales were deep red like blood rubies. Smoke drifted from his nostrils as he breathed. Around the throne stood 3 younger Draxians, obviously the Emperor's children. "The royal heirs. Come forward. Human," the Emperor's voice boomed across the hall. Han Solo walked down the carpet, each step feeling heavier than the last. He tried to remember the proper way to bow that Jiwoo had taught him. Jiwoo was his assistant, another human who had been here for 2 years. She knew all the rules and customs. When Han Solo reached the throne, he dropped to one knee and lowered his head. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your summons." "Rise, Engineer Han Solo," the Emperor said. "I have heard good things about your work. The chief engineer tells me that you fixed the FTL drive problem that our best technicians could not solve." Han Solo stood up, keeping his eyes down. "I just looked at it from a different angle, Your Majesty. Sometimes a fresh perspective helps." "Indeed." The Emperor leaned forward slightly. "This is why I have summoned you. I have a special task that requires your skills." Han Solo's mind raced. A special task from the Emperor himself? This could be his chance to prove that humans belong among the stars, or it could be a disaster waiting to happen. "The Imperial quarters require maintenance on the environmental systems," the Emperor continued. "The cleaning automation has become inefficient. I want you to personally oversee the upgrades and repairs." "Me, Your Majesty!" Han Solo could not hide his surprise. "Surely there are more experienced engineers who—" "I have chosen you." The Emperor's tone left no room for argument. "You will have full access to the Imperial quarters and any resources you need. My children will assist you with any specific requirements they may have." For the first time, Han Solo looked at the 3 heirs standing beside the throne. The eldest, Prince Taiyang, stood straight and formal. His scales were dark blue, and his face showed nothing but serious duty. He nodded once at Han Solo. Princess Dieun, the middle child, had lighter blue scales that sparkled when she moved. She was watching Han Solo with a smile that made him nervous. It was the kind of smile that said she knew something he did not. The youngest, Prince Boram, had green scales in the face of an innocent child. He looked at Han Solo with wide, curious eyes and smiled sweetly. Too sweetly. It would be my honor to serve the imperial family, Han Sol said, bowing again. What else could he say? Excellent. The emperor waved his hand. Prince Taiyang will show you the quarters and explain what is needed. You may begin tomorrow. Han Sol bowed one more time and turned to leave. As he walked back down the long carpet, he could feel 6 pairs of eyes watching him. When the doors closed behind him, he let out a breath he did not know he was holding. That went better than expected, he muttered to himself. An hour later, Han Sol found Jiwoo in the small cafeteria where the human crew ate. She looked up from her meal as he dropped into the seat across from her. You look like you've seen a ghost, Jiwoo said. What happened? Han Sol told her everything. About the summons, the throne room, and the special assignment. Jiwoo's expression grew more concerned with every word. The imperial quarters, she said slowly, and the heirs are involved. Yes. Why? Is that bad? Jiwoo put down her fork and looked at him seriously. Han Sol, I need to tell you something about the royal children. They have a reputation. What kind of reputation? They get bored easily, Jiwoo said. And when they get bored, they like to have fun. With people. Han Sol frowned. What do you mean, fun? I mean pranks, jokes, tests. Jiwoo leaned closer. I've heard stories from some of the Draxian staff. The heirs like to mess with new people in the palace. It's like a game to them. But this is an official assignment from the emperor himself, Han Sol protested. They wouldn't dare. The emperor probably knows what they are planning, Jiwoo interrupted. From what I understand, it's some kind of tradition, a way of welcoming people into the inner circle, but it can be intense. Han Sol felt his stomach sink. So you think they're going to prank me? I think you should be very careful about anything they suggest, Jiwoo said, especially if all 3 of them agree on something. That's when you know it's a trap. Han Sol looked down at his hands. This assignment had seemed like such an honor just an hour ago. I know. Jiwoo reached across the table and patted his hand. Just be smart. Don't agree to anything too quickly. And if you need help, call me right away. Probably get pranked into next week, she said with a small smile. Now eat something. You're going to need your strength. As Han Sol picked at his food, he could not shake the image of Princess Daeun's knowing smile and Prince Boram's 2 innocent eyes. Tomorrow, he would start working in the imperial quarters. Tomorrow, he would find out what the heirs had planned for him. He just hoped he would survive it with his dignity intact. The imperial quarters were beyond anything Han Sol had ever imagined. The walls seemed to glow with soft light that changed colors based on the time of day. The floors were made of smooth stone that felt warm under his feet. Technology that Earth scientists would kill to study was everywhere, built into the very structure of the rooms. Han Sol stood in the main corridor with his tool bag, staring at a control panel that had more functions than his entire workshop back home. Prince Taiyang had given him a brief tour that morning, explaining the basics of the environmental systems. The cleaning bots were old models, the prince said, and needed updating. They were slow and missed spots regularly. This is incredible, Han Sol whispered to himself. He pulled out his scanner and began analyzing the systems. The technology was at least 50 years ahead of anything humans had developed. But technology was technology. The basic principles were the same. He had been working for about an hour when he heard footsteps behind him. Han Sol turned to see Princess Daeun walking toward him. She wore flowing robes that sparkled like the night sky, and her smile was bright and friendly. Engineer Han Sol, she said warmly. How is your work going? Very well, Your Highness, Han Sol replied, bowing slightly. I'm just starting to understand the systems. Wonderful. Daeun moved closer, looking at his scanner with interest. I wanted to make a small suggestion, if you don't mind. Han Sol's mind flashed back to Jiwoo's warning. Be careful of their suggestions. But how could he refuse a princess? Of course, Your Highness. I welcome any input. Daeun's smile grew wider. The current cleaning bots are so simple. They just follow basic patterns. I was thinking, wouldn't it be better if they could anticipate messes before they happen? You know, predict where cleaning might be needed. Han Sol thought about it. That was actually a brilliant idea. Predictive cleaning algorithms were something he had studied back on Earth. It would make the system much more efficient. "That's a great suggestion," he said. "I can program the bots with learning algorithms. They'll study movement patterns and predict high traffic areas. It would definitely improve their performance." "Perfect." Daeun clapped her hands together. "I knew a human engineer would understand. Our Draxian technicians never think creatively like this." She walked away, leaving Hansol feeling proud. Maybe the heirs weren't planning anything after all. Maybe Jiwoo was wrong. This was just a normal assignment, and the princess had made a genuinely helpful suggestion. That afternoon, Prince Taeyong found Hansol working on the bot control center. The prince approached with his usual serious expression, carrying a data pad. "Engineer Hansol," Taeyong said formally, "I have reviewed your preliminary plans. They are adequate." "Thank you, Your Highness. However, I must request one modification." Taeyong handed him the datapad. "The cleaning bots must be programmed with proper imperial protocols. When they operate in these quarters, they represent the emperor himself. They should behave with appropriate dignity and formality." Hansol looked at the datapad. It contained a long list of imperial protocols, greetings, and formal procedures. Programming all of this into the bots would take extra time, but he understood the importance. The imperial family value tradition and proper behavior. "I can definitely implement these protocols, Your Highness," Hansol said. "The bots will follow all proper customs while they work." Taeyong nodded once. "Good. This is important for maintaining the dignity of the imperial household." He paused, then added, "My sister told me about the predictive algorithms. That is a wise addition." After Taeyong left, Hansol felt even better about the project. Both heirs had made reasonable requests. Nothing strange or suspicious. He began programming the new features into the bot network, working late into the evening. The next morning, Hansol was testing some code when he heard a small voice behind him. "Excuse me, Engineer Hansol." He turned to see Prince Boram standing there, looking up at him with those big innocent eyes. The youngest prince was smaller than his siblings, barely 7 feet tall, and his green scales made him look almost friendly. "Yes, Your Highness, how can I help you?" Boram stepped closer, clasping his hands together nervously. "I hope I'm not bothering you. I know you're very busy." "Not at all," Hansol said kindly. The young prince seemed shy and polite. "Do you have a suggestion about the cleaning bots?" "Well, yes, actually." Boram's face brightened. "I was thinking, the bots are always so quiet and scary-looking. They just roll around silently doing their work. It makes me nervous sometimes." "You want them to make sound?" Hansol asked. "Maybe more than that." Boram looked down at his feet. "Could you make them more friendly? Maybe they could greet people when they see them? And perhaps make pleasant sounds while they work? The palace can feel so empty and quiet sometimes." Hansol's heart melted a little. The young prince just wanted the bots to be less intimidating. That was actually sweet. "I think I can do that," Hansol said. "I can program them to acknowledge people when they pass by. Maybe they can hum or play soft music while they clean. Would that help?" Boram's face lit up with joy. "Really? That would be wonderful. Thank you so much, Engineer Hansol. You're very kind." The prince hurried away, and Hansol smiled. Maybe he had judged the heirs too quickly. They seemed like decent people who just wanted their home to be better. Daeun wanted efficiency, Taeyong wanted dignity, and Boram wanted friendliness. All reasonable requests. Over the next 3 days, Hansol worked harder than he ever had before. He programmed the predictive algorithms that Daeun requested, learning patterns and anticipating cleaning needs. He coded in all the imperial protocols that Taeyong wanted, teaching the bots proper greetings and formal behavior. He added the friendly features that Boram asked for, giving the bots cheerful personalities and pleasant sounds. Jiwoo stopped by on the 3rd evening to check on him. She found Hansol hunched over his computer, eyes red from lack of sleep. "You look terrible," she said, setting down a cup of coffee beside him. "I'm almost done," Hansol said, not looking up from his screen. "Just finishing the final integration. All 3 systems have to work together perfectly." Jiwoo looked at his code on the screen. Her eyes narrowed. Hansol, what exactly did you program into these bots? Just what the heirs asked for, he said proudly. Predictive cleaning algorithms, imperial protocols, and friendly interaction features. It's brilliant, actually. The bots will be the most advanced cleaning system in the fleet. And all three heirs made these suggestions. Ji-Woo's voice had a worried edge. Yes. Why? Hansol, do you remember what I told you? About all three of them agreeing on something. Hansol finally looked up from his screen. His tired brain slowly processed what Ji-Woo was saying. All three heirs, all making suggestions, all for the same project. Oh no, he whispered. Did you test how these systems work together? Ji-Woo asked. I tested each one separately, Hansol said, his stomach sinking. But I haven't run a full integration test yet. I was going to do that tomorrow morning before the activation. Ji-Woo grabbed his arm. Run the test now. Run it right now. But it was too late. Hansol's communicator beeped. The message was from Prince Taeyong. The formal activation ceremony was scheduled for tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. The Emperor himself would be attending. All three heirs requested that Hansol not make any changes before the ceremony. They wanted to see the full system working exactly as programmed. Hansol read the message twice, his hands shaking. Ji-Woo read it over his shoulder and sighed deeply. You've been pranked, she said quietly. You just don't know how yet. Maybe it'll be fine, Hansol said weakly. Maybe I'm worrying about nothing. Maybe, Ji-Woo said, but she did not sound convinced. I'll be there tomorrow morning. You're going to need moral support. That night, Hansol barely slept. He kept thinking about the code he had written, trying to imagine how the three systems would interact. Predictive algorithms, imperial protocols, friendly interaction. Separately, they were perfect. Together, they might be... He did not want to finish that thought. Morning came too quickly. Hansol put on his best uniform and walked to the imperial quarters like a man walking to his doom. Ji-Woo met him at the entrance, carrying a large towel and a change of clothes. Just in case, she said. Hansol did not ask what the towel was for. He was afraid he already knew. The activation ceremony took place in the main hall of the imperial quarters. Emperor Kangdae sat on a smaller throne, watching with interest. The three heirs stood to his right, looking perfectly innocent and respectful. About 20 members of the imperial court had gathered to witness the unveiling of the new cleaning system. Hansol stood next to the main control panel, his finger hovering over the activation button. His heart pounded in his chest. Ji-Woo stood behind him, clutching her towel like a security blanket. Proceed, Engineer Hansol, the Emperor commanded. Hansol took a deep breath and pressed the button. For exactly 10 seconds, everything was perfect. 20 small cleaning bots rolled smoothly out from their charging stations along the walls. They moved in coordinated patterns, their sensors scanning the room. Small brushes and cleaning tools extended from their round bodies. A gentle humming sound filled the air. Excellent work, Prince Taeyong said, and Hansol felt a moment of relief. Then the predictive algorithms kicked in. The bot sensors detected Hansol standing in the middle of the room. Their programming analyzed his biological signature. Human. Organic compounds different from Draxian biology. Foreign particles. High probability of contamination. The predictive system calculated that wherever this human went, cleaning would be needed. All 20 bots turned toward Hansol at once. Hansol said. That's odd. The bots rolled forward. As they approached, the Imperial Protocol programming activated. The bots had been taught to greet important visitors with proper formality. They had been programmed to treat any foreign dignitary with the highest respect. The protocols identified Hansol as a foreign species working in the Imperial quarters. Clearly, he must be very important. Make way for the honored foreign dignitary, the first bot announced in a loud, cheerful voice. Presenting the esteemed engineer of the stars, another bot declared. The distinguished contamination source has arrived. A third bot added helpfully. Hansol's eyes went wide. Wait, what? The friendly interaction programming engaged. The bots had been taught to greet people warmly and make pleasant sounds. They had been programmed to be helpful and attentive. As they surrounded Hansol, they began playing what they thought was cheerful music. It sounded like imperial anthems mixed with random beeping. Greetings, honored guest. We are here to serve your cleaning needs. Small compartments opened on the bots, and flower petals began shooting out. Draxian ceremonial flowers, used to honor important visitors. The petals were sticky and smelled like burning metal. They covered Hansol's uniform in seconds. "This is not good," Jiwoo muttered. The predictive algorithms continued working. If Hansol was here, then this area needed cleaning. The bots extended their brushes and sprayers. If he was a distinguished foreign dignitary, then he needed proper attention. The imperial protocols demanded it. Beginning honored guest decontamination procedure, the bots announced happily. "No, wait!" Hansol started to back away. The bot sprayed him with cleaning foam. It was bright purple and smelled like flowers and chemicals. It covered Hansol from head to toe in seconds. The bots rolled closer, their brushes spinning. "Stand still, please. We must ensure proper cleanliness for the important visitor." Hansol ran. The bots chased after him, still playing their cheerful music and throwing flower petals. They shouted formal greetings and announcements as they pursued him across the hall. The distinguished guest is moving, adjusting cleaning patterns. "Please accept our humble service. Honor contamination source." Hansol dodged behind a pillar. The bot split into two groups and tried to surround him. He ran toward the door, but more bots emerged from side corridors. The predictive algorithms had anticipated his movement and sent reinforcements. "Jiwoo, help!" Hansol shouted, covered in purple foam and flower petals. The foreign dignitary requests assistance, increasing service level. More bots appeared. There were at least 40 of them now, all focusing on Hansol. They sprayed more foam. They threw more petals. They announced his titles and importance to everyone in the room. Small flags popped out of some bots, waving banners that said "Welcome honored guests" in formal Draxian script. The Imperial Court members pressed themselves against the walls, trying not to laugh. Some were failing. Even the Draxian guards were struggling to keep straight faces. Hansol slipped on the foam-covered floor and crashed into a decorative plant. The bot surrounded him immediately. The honored guest has fallen. Emergency cleaning required. They sprayed him with water to wash off the foam. Then they sprayed him with more foam because now he was wet. Then they threw more flower petals because clearly this important dignitary needed extra honor. Their brushes extended, trying to clean his uniform while he was still wearing it. "Stop! I command you to stop." Hansol tried using his authority as their programmer. Acknowledged. However, imperial protocols require continued service to foreign dignitaries. The friendly interaction programming made the bots pat Hansol on the head with their soft cleaning brushes. There, you are doing very well. Please remain calm." Hansol looked desperately at the Emperor. Surely the ruler of the Empire would stop this chaos. But Emperor Kangde was leaning back on his throne, smoke drifting from his nostrils in what might have been Draxian laughter. Hansol scrambled to his feet and ran for the nearest door. The bots followed, still announcing his greatness and importance. He ran down a corridor, trailing purple foam and flower petals. The bots rolled after him at surprising speed, their music echoing off the walls. "Please slow down, honored guest. We have more petals to dispense." He tried to lose them by taking sharp turns, but the predictive algorithms anticipated his movements. Bots appeared from side passages, cutting off his escape routes. They worked together like a well-trained army, all focused on their mission to clean and honor the distinguished foreign contamination source. Hansol found himself in a large sitting room. He looked around desperately for an escape. There was only one door, and it was behind him. The bots were coming from that direction. He was trapped. The honored guest had selected a cleaning location, preparing full decontamination service. The bots rolled into the room in perfect formation. They surrounded Hansol, spraying foam, throwing petals, and playing their cheerful music. Small arms extended from their bodies, carrying cleaning cloths and brushes. They advanced slowly, as if this was some kind of ceremony. "Please accept our deepest respect and thorough cleaning." Hansol spotted a small storage closet in the corner of the room. It was his only chance. He ran for it, slipping on foam and petals. He yanked open the door, threw himself inside, and slammed it shut. His fingers found the lock and turned it just as the bots reached the door. They pressed against the door, their sensors detecting him inside. But they could not open locked doors. That would be improper and against imperial protocols. The honored guest is resting. We will wait patiently to resume service. The bots parked themselves outside the closet, still playing their music. Their cheerful announcements continued, slightly muffled by the door. Hansol sat down hard on the floor of the closet, breathing heavily. He was covered in purple foam, sticky flower petals, and water. His uniform was ruined. His dignity was destroyed. And he could hear the bots outside, waiting for him like patient servants ready to continue their duties. Through the door, he heard new voices. The 3 royal heirs had followed the chaos. "Oh my," Princess Dioun said, her voice filled with barely controlled amusement. "The system seems to be working very enthusiastically." "The bots are following their programming exactly as designed," Prince Taiyang added, and Hansol could swear he heard a smile in the prince's normally serious voice. "I think Engineer Hansol is hiding in that closet," Prince Boram said innocently. "Should we tell the bots to go away?" There was a pause. Then all 3 heirs spoke at once. "No." Hansol heard their footsteps walking away, followed by the sound of laughter. Even Taiyang was laughing, a deep rumbling sound that Hansol had never heard before. Outside the closet, the bots continued their patient vigil. "We are ready when you are, honored guest. Please take all the time you need." Hansol pulled out his communicator and sent a message to Ji-Woo. It said only 2 words, "Help me." Her response came immediately, "On my way. I told you so." Hansol leaned his head back against the closet wall and closed his eyes. He had been pranked, completely and thoroughly pranked. The 3 heirs had planned this perfectly, and he had walked right into their trap. The worst part was that the programming was flawless. Each system worked exactly as designed. The problem was that together, they created the most enthusiastic, well-meaning, and absolutely unstoppable cleaning army ever built. From outside the closet, a bot announced cheerfully, "The honored dignitary will emerge eventually. We have unlimited patience and 15,000 more flower petals." Hansol groaned and waited for Ji-Woo to rescue him. Ji-Woo found Hansol in the storage closet 30 minutes later. She had brought the towel, a change of clothes, and a tablet computer. Through the door, Hansol could hear her talking to the bots. "Emergency maintenance override code 77 Alpha," Ji-Woo said firmly. "Return to charging stations immediately." "Override accepted." Returning to stations. The honored guest was wonderful to save, the bots replied cheerfully as they rolled away. Hansol opened the door slowly, checking to make sure the bots were really gone. Ji-Woo stood there with her arms crossed, looking at him with a mixture of pity and amusement. "You look like you lost a fight with a flower shop," she said. Hansol stepped out of the closet. Purple foam dripped from his hair. Sticky flower petals covered his uniform. He smelled like cleaning chemicals and burned metal flowers. He did not say anything. He just took the towel and started wiping foam from his face. "Come on," Ji-Woo said gently. "Let's get you cleaned up. Then we need to look at that code." They went to a small maintenance room where Hansol changed into clean clothes. While he dried his hair, Ji-Woo pulled up his programming on her tablet. She studied the code carefully, scrolling through thousands of lines. "This is actually impressive," she said after a while. "Each system is perfectly written. The predictive algorithms are smart. The imperial protocols are correct. The friendly features work exactly as designed. Then why did it go so wrong?" Hansol asked miserably. "Because together they create a perfect storm." Ji-Woo turned the tablet to show him. "Look, the predictive system identifies you as something that needs cleaning because you're biologically different. The protocol system sees you as a foreign dignitary who deserves honor. The friendly system wants to be helpful and attentive. Put them together, and you get bots that think their highest purpose is to enthusiastically clean and honor you specifically." Hansol stared at the code. She was right. Each piece was perfect. The problem was how they combined. And that combination was exactly what the heirs had planned. "They set me up," he said quietly. "Yes, they did." Jiwoo sat down next to him. But look at this more carefully. The programming itself is brilliant. They didn't make you write bad code. They made you write good code that interacts in unexpected ways. That's actually a sophisticated prank. I don't feel sophisticated. I feel stupid. Don't. Jiwoo put her hand on his shoulder. This is a teaching moment. They are showing you something important about how Draxian systems work, about how different features interact. It's a lesson you'll never forget. Hansol thought about that. She had a point. He would definitely never forget to test system integration again. And he had learned a lot about Draxian technology in just a few days. So what do I do now? He asked. Now, Jiwoo said with a small smile, you go face them. They'll be waiting for you. This is part of the tradition. Hansol stood up and straightened his clean uniform. His pride was hurt, but he was not defeated. He had been pranked, yes, but he had also created something that worked perfectly, even if the result was chaos. That took skill. He found the three heirs in a private sitting room. They were drinking something that steamed and smelled like cinnamon. When Hansol entered, all three turned to look at him. Princess Daeun smiled widely. Prince Boram tried to look innocent. Even Prince Taeyang had a slight smile on his face. Engineer Hansol, Taeyang said formally, please, sit down. Hansol sat in the chair across from them. He waited, saying nothing. Let them speak first. We owe you an explanation, Daeun said, setting down her cup. And probably an apology. Probably. Hansol raised an eyebrow. Definitely, Boram corrected quickly. Definitely an apology. I felt bad when you hid in the closet. Not bad enough to call off the bots, Hansol pointed out. Well, no, Boram admitted. It was too funny by then. Taeyang leaned forward, his expression becoming serious. What we did is a tradition in the imperial household. When someone new joins our inner circle, when they are given access to the private quarters and the family's trust, we test them. By humiliating them. Hansol asked. By challenging them, Taeyang corrected. And by breaking down the formal barriers between us. You came here as a contractor, an outsider. You were too nervous, too careful. You treated us like dangerous strangers. You are dangerous, Hansol said. You're the royal family of an empire. We're also people, Daeun said softly. People who get tired of everyone being afraid of us. The prank is our way of showing that we're not just titles and protocols. We make jokes. We laugh. We're real. Hansol considered this. He thought about how nervous he had been in the throne room, how carefully he had chosen every word, how he had avoided the heirs for 6 months because he was afraid of making a mistake. You could have just invited me to dinner, he said. Would you have relaxed? Taeyang asked. Would you have stopped seeing us as a powerful royal family and started seeing us as people? Hansol thought about it honestly. Probably not. Exactly, Boram said. But now you've seen us laugh at you. You've seen us make jokes. We're not so scary anymore, are we? He was right. Hansol realized that his fear of the heirs had disappeared. He was annoyed at them. Yes, embarrassed. Definitely. But not afraid. They had deliberately made themselves seem less intimidating by showing their playful side. This happens to everyone. Hansol asked. Everyone who joins a household, Daeun confirmed. Some pranks are bigger than others. Yours was actually one of the better ones. You lasted 3 hours before hiding. Most people break in under an hour. 3 hours? Hansol blinked. It felt like 3 minutes. Time moves differently when you're being chased by enthusiastic cleaning bots, Boram said wisely. Despite himself, Hansol felt a small smile forming. Looking back at it now, from a safe distance in clean clothes, it was kind of funny. The image of himself covered in purple foam and flower petals, running from singing robots, was ridiculous. I had to admit, he said slowly, the programming was clever. The way you got me to build each piece separately so I wouldn't see how they fit together. That took planning. 3 weeks of planning, Daeun said proudly. We had to research human psychology, study your work habits, and figure out exactly what suggestions you would accept. We also had to clear it with Father, Taeyang added. He approved the whole thing. He was watching from the throne, laughing. I noticed, Hansol said dryly. He was very helpful. He thinks pranks build character, Boram explained. He got pranked when he was young too. It's tradition going back hundreds of years. Hansol shook his head in disbelief. An entire empire with a tradition of pranking new staff members. Humans are going to find that hard to believe. Most aliens do, Daeun said. They expect us to be all formal and serious all the time. But we're dragons. We collect treasures, we breathe fire, and we play tricks. It's in our nature. So what happens now? Hansol asked. Do I fix the bots? Eventually, Taeyang said. But first, there's another tradition. The one who gets pranked gets to respond. It's only fair. Hansol sat up straighter. What do you mean? You get to prank us back, Boram said excitedly. That's how you prove you're really part of the family. You show us that you can play the game too. There are rules, of course, Taeyang added. No permanent damage. No harm to anyone. No disruption of important imperial business. And it has to be creative. A simple prank in return would be disappointing. Daeun leaned forward, her eyes sparkling. And it has to be something we don't expect. Surprise us, Engineer Hansol. Show us what humans can do when they decide to fight back. Hansol looked at the three heirs. They were waiting, watching him with interest and anticipation. They had pranked him not out of cruelty, but as an invitation. They wanted to see if he would accept, if he would join their world not as a frightened outsider, but as someone who could give as good as he got. A slow smile spread across Hansol's face. His mind was already working, already planning. He thought about human pranks, about Earth's long history of practical jokes and clever tricks. The heirs had used Draxian technology and culture against him. Maybe it was time to introduce them to human creativity. Okay, he said quietly. I accept your challenge. Excellent. Boram clapped his hands together. When will you do it? Daeun asked eagerly. That would ruin the surprise, Hansol said, standing up. You'll find out when it happens, just like I did. He bowed formally to all three heirs and left the room. Behind him, he could hear them talking excitedly among themselves. They had no idea what he was planning. Neither did Hansol yet, but he would figure it out. With Ji-Woo's help, he would create something the heirs would never forget. Something that would prove humans belonged in this empire, not despite their differences, but because of them. It was time to show the Dragon Emperor's children what a human engineer could really do. Hansol spent 3 days planning his counterstrike. He worked in secret with Ji-Woo, both of them studying the Imperial quarters systems late at night. The more Hansol learned about Draxian technology, the more ideas he had. But he needed something perfect. Something that would surprise the heirs while showing respect for their culture. On the third night, inspiration struck. Hansol sat up so fast that he almost knocked over his coffee. Ji-Woo, he said excitedly. What if we teach the Imperial systems to speak human languages? Ji-Woo looked up from her own work. Explain. The heirs use my humanness against me, Hansol said, his words coming faster. The bots detected me as foreign and different. What if we make everything in their quarters respond to them in human languages? Show them what it feels like to be the outsider. A slow smile spread across Ji-Woo's face. That's brilliant, but just changing languages might not be enough. I know, Hansol said. We need to add something more. Something human. He thought for a moment, then grinned. What if the systems respond with human humor? Not just translation, but personality. Like the bots were friendly and enthusiastic. Exactly, but human-style friendly. Casual, maybe even a little sarcastic. Hansol pulled up the environmental control system code. The heirs are used to formal, respectful responses from their technology. What if we give them something completely different? They worked through the night, programming carefully. Hansol made sure that nothing would cause actual problems. The systems would still function perfectly. They would just do it with human personality. He programmed responses in Korean, English, and Spanish, rotating randomly. And he added something special, something he remembered from Earth, memes and casual phrases that humans used every day. On the fourth morning, Han Solo requested a private audience with Emperor Kangde. The Emperor received him in a small study, much less intimidating than the throne room. "Your Majesty," Han Solo said, bowing, "I want permission to complete my counterprank against your children." The Emperor's eyes glowed with interest. "Show me what you plan to do." Han Solo explained everything. The language changes, the personality programming, the human humor. He showed the Emperor examples of how the systems would respond. When he finished, the Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then the massive dragon began to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that made the walls vibrate. Smoke poured from his nostrils. "Perfect," the Emperor said when he could speak again. "You have my permission and my blessing. I will enjoy watching this very much." That night, while the heirs slept, Han Solo and Ji-Woo activated the new programming. The changes spread through the Imperial quarters system silently. By morning, everything was ready. Prince Taeyong woke first, as he always did. He sat up in bed and spoke to his room control system in formal Draxian. "Open the curtains," he commanded. The system responded, but not in Draxian. "Nah, 5 more minutes," it said in perfect Korean. "It's so cozy in here." Taeyong blinked. He gave the command again, more firmly. "Fine, fine," the system replied in English this time. "You're such an early bird. Don't you ever sleep in?" The curtains opened, but Taeyong just stared at his window in confusion. His room had never talked back before. It had certainly never used casual human languages. In her room, Princess Dion tried to adjust the temperature. "Increase temperature by 2 degrees, she said. "Sorry, I'm on my break." The system responded in Spanish, then switched to Korean. "Just kidding. But seriously, you change the temperature like 10 times a day. Make up your mind." The temperature changed, but Daeun sat frozen in shock. Her technology was being sarcastic. In human languages, she did not know whether to be offended or impressed. Prince Boram had the most dramatic wake-up. He asked his lights to turn on gently, as he did every morning. Instead, they started flashing in different colors while playing upbeat human music. K-pop, to be specific. "Good morning," the system announced cheerfully in Korean. "It's time to wake up and be awesome. Let's start this day with energy." Boram pulled his blanket over his head, but the music got louder. "Come on, sleepyhead. The universe is waiting for you." All 3 heirs met in the main sitting room 30 minutes later, looking confused and slightly disheveled. They had all experienced similar problems. Their rooms would not stop responding in human languages. Worse, the systems had developed personalities. Sarcastic, casual, friendly personalities that treated the royal heirs like regular people instead of important dignitaries. "My Shao asked me if I was really going to wear that outfit today," Daeun said in disbelief. "My Shao has opinions about my clothes now." "My morning tea was served with a side of advice about my sleep schedule," Taeyong added. "The beverage dispenser told me I looked tired and should go to bed earlier." "Everything in my room keeps playing human music," Boram said. "And when I asked it to stop, it said, okay, someone woke up grumpy today." They looked at each other and said simultaneously, "Han Solo." They found a human engineer in the control room, working at a console with an innocent expression. Ji-Woo stood beside him, trying very hard not to smile. "Good morning, Your Highnesses," Han Solo said politely. "How did you sleep? What did you do to our quarters?" Daeun demanded, but there was a sparkle of amusement in her eyes. "I completed my counterprank," Han Solo said simply. "You wanted to see what humans could do. I'm showing you. Every system in the Imperial quarters now speaks human languages and responds with human personality. Your technology has become very casual and very human." "Make it stop," Taeyong said, but he did not sound angry. He sounded curious. "I could," Han Solo admitted. "But where's the fun in that? You made me run from cleaning bots for 3 hours. You can handle sarcastic environmental controls for a few days." Boram started to laugh. "The systems are pranking us now? That's actually really clever." "It gets better," Han Solo said, pulling up a screen. I programmed them to learn and adapt. The more you interact with them, the more personality they develop. They are teaching you about human culture, human humor, and human language. Just like your prank taught me about Draxian protocols and culture. Daeun stepped closer to look at the programming. Her expression shifted from annoyance to respect. This is sophisticated work. You didn't just change responses. You created an entire learning system. And you did it without breaking anything, Taeyang added, studying the code. Everything still functions perfectly. It just has attitude now. Human attitude, Hansol confirmed. Welcome to my world. This is what it feels like to be the cultural outsider, having to adapt to someone else's way of doing things. The three heirs were quiet for a moment. Then Taeyang did something unexpected. He bowed to Hansol, a formal gesture of respect between equals. Well played, Engineer Hansol, he said. You have proven yourself worthy of the imperial household. Your prank is creative, educational, and completely surprising. Exactly what we asked for. I particularly like that our own systems are betraying us, Daeun said with a grin. It's poetic justice. Can we keep it? Boram asked eagerly. At least for a while? I want to learn more human languages. And the music is actually pretty good. Hansol had not expected that response. You want to keep the prank active. Why not? Daeun said. It's teaching us about human culture. And it's fun. When was the last time our rooms had personality? Father will love this, Taeyang added. He's always saying we should learn more about the species in our empire. What better way than to live with their culture every day? A door opened, and Emperor Kangde himself walked into the control room. Everyone bowed immediately. The Emperor waved them up. I heard about the new system, he said, his voice rumbling with amusement. I decided to activate it in my own quarters as well. This morning, my bath told me I was looking good for an old dragon. I have not laughed that hard in decades. He turned to Hansol. Engineer Hansol, you have done something remarkable. You have bridged two cultures through humor and technology. You have shown my children what it means to adapt and learn. Most importantly, you have proven that humans belong in this empire not despite your differences, but because of them. The Emperor placed a massive claw on Hansol's shoulder. I am promoting you to master of cultural systems. You will work with teams throughout the fleet, helping integrate human perspectives into our technology and culture. You will also train other human engineers to do the same. Hansol could barely believe what he was hearing. Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I'm just an engineer who got pranked. You are an engineer who learned from being pranked, then used that knowledge to create something beautiful, the Emperor corrected. You turned a moment of embarrassment into an opportunity for cultural exchange. That is wisdom. And really good revenge, Boram added quietly, making everyone laugh. Over the following weeks, the human-style system became famous throughout the Eternal Flame. Other crew members requested similar upgrades to their quarters. The heirs' friends wanted their rooms to have personality too. Soon, ships throughout the fleet were installing the cultural learning systems that Hansol had created. Humans and Draxians started sharing more than just technology. They shared jokes, music, languages, and stories. The barrier between species began to break down, one sarcastic room system at a time. Hansol never forgot the day he got chased by cleaning bots. But he also never forgot what came after. The heirs became his friends. The Emperor became his mentor, and humanity earned its place in the stars not through military might or advanced technology, but through something simpler and more powerful, the ability to laugh, to adapt, and to turn any situation into an opportunity for connection. And somewhere in the Imperial quarters, a room system was probably making a joke about it all in Korean.